Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi!
Hello friends. In this video we are going to cover Shiron, the noise marine for the Emperor's children. The noise marines are iconic for their use of sonic weapons, which devastate their enemies while the marines themselves are relatively unscathed due to their Slaaneshi warped senses. Snowprint have managed to capture that essence and deliver it to the game. If you're here for a 15-second summary, Shiron has a low base attack damage but high scaling potential through his passive ability. He has 6 hits with his ranged attack and the heavy weapon trait, making him an excellent core piece for a ranged multi-hit team. However, as of yet, we don't have enough good ranged damage buffers, so it's difficult to fully assess his impact. Shiron is an uncommon unlock through the 2-week hero release event. As usual, Snowprint's art team have done an incredible job with the model and animations. He has 3 traits: the Emperor's Children faction trait, Thrilled, Heavy Weapon, and Suppressive Fire, all of which we have seen before. I know that Mythic has been released, but I will continue to just highlight Diamond 3 stats for a while. Thanks to Tawan, Tacticus Ambassador and Friend, I have this nice radar chart to give you an idea of how he compares to other characters in the game. As you can see, without any buffs or abilities factored in, Shiron is really quite low down in the charts in terms of damage. Shiron has a movement speed of 3. He has the eviscerating profiles on both melee and ranged attacks. The melee has 3 hits and the ranged has 6 hits at range 3. His active ability is Excruciating Frequencies. This causes Shiron to fire in a straight line and affect 3 hexes. The attack gains bonus crit chance for each unit on the affected hexes and deals blast damage to the enemies. It also applies the suppressed effect. This feeds into his passive, Terrifying Crescendo. This passive gives Shiron bonus damage based on the number of enemies that he has overkilled or would have suppressed. The wood does a lot of heavy lifting here, because it means that Shiron can build stacks on units with immune, like raid bosses. The abilities are simple enough, but let's take a look at some gameplay clips before diving into the numbers. In the first clip, you can see Shiron uses active ability on a single enemy unit. It both suppresses and overkills that unit, and as a result, Shiron gets 2 stacks from his passive ability. When we increase the number of units from the active from 1 to 2, the crit chance goes to 100%. Your allied units count towards the crit bonus but are not harmed by the friendly fire damage. Pretty straightforward. His passive is easy to understand as well. Overkill 3 enemies like seen here in this clip, and he gets to full stacks on his passive straight away. As you can see here, it also looks like the character's attack benefits from the Emperor's Children faction trait, giving Shiron even more critical hit chance and also making the crits auto-convert to overkills. The gameplay is reasonably straightforward, so I thought we could move on to some math and graphs next, once more courtesy of Tacticus Ambassador and Friend, Tawan. Clearly, Shiron is designed as a single target damage dealer who relies on buffs to shine. He has some inbuilt ability in his own kit, so we have on screen some graphs showing you how much you would expect Shiron to do versus each character in the game. In blue, you can see the character's remaining health, and each colored layer is how much the calculated damage is per stack of Shiron's passive ability. We have decided to use Diamond 3 and ability levels at blue star 50 for the reference range. You can see that even with 6 stacks of the passive, Shiron's base damage is just so low and he struggles to kill most characters. Shiron also has a relic when you get him to mythic rarity. This is called the Intoxicating Elixir. The wording on this, because it doesn't specifically name Shiron, makes me think it will be a shared relic, possibly with the other Emperor's Children. It gives the relic bearer bonus crit damage for each unit within range 2 that is suppressed, stunned, taunted, or thrilled, up to a maximum of 6 stacks. This bonus is doubled if the relic bearer is below half health. I'm kind of torn on this one. It's a really powerful effect, made even stronger by the inbuilt extra crit chance that the Emperor's Children have. The trouble is that it's quite hard to achieve reliably unless your characters are consistently taking damage. You can see in the screenshot that the relic counts Shiron himself for thrilled. I suppose it's fairly clear that Shiron was designed to be part of a potential raid multi-hit meta. There are a few problems with this concept at the moment. The good ranged multi-hit characters are old and have been power crept quite significantly by the newer characters. There aren't really a good amount of ranged multi-hit buffers, and there certainly isn't anyone remotely close to Ragnar's power level when it comes to buffing ranged damage. The best combinations and choices I could find as a complement to Shiron at the moment are the following characters. As you watch this, Darkstrider is the best ranged buffer in the game at the moment. Thaddeus gives a bit of damage by virtue of his spotter passive, but the numbers aren't great. Morgan Ra was once a mainstay of the ranged meta and also has 6 hits to use. Eldryon is a reasonable buffer for this team since all of their attacks come from normal attack damage. Revas is a flex option. She has 9 hits if we include her passive ability, but outside of that, the team really struggles, and you can see that the caliber of character we have on screen isn't really anything to be excited about. The other question is, where would the team even be usable? The original Tyranids and Sarek are punching bags for the mech team. Gazgold generally needs to be pinned in place, and therefore melee units are better at that role. Mortarian's passive prevents multi-hit metas from shining. Rogaldoran moves around a lot, and you generally want to be in melee to take advantage of his weak rear armor and constantly changing position. It doesn't really leave us with a lot of options. Maybe the Avatar of Cain, possibly Belisarius Call. The Riptide is off limits at the moment since the best ranged buffer, Darkstrider, is unusable there. I thought I would piece together a run against the legendary 4 Call. It's not a perfect run, but the ranged damage dealers have high ground for most of the fight. They also remain stationary a reasonable amount to take advantage of the further 25% damage boost from heavy weapon. We end up with around 375k, which isn't that impressive when compared to maxed out multi-hit teams that are hitting closer to 700k on this boss fight. We've covered Chiron's kit and gameplay, so here is a summary slide showing his stats and abilities at various breakpoints. Now I've also included those stats and abilities from Mythic 1 and Adamantine 1 in case that's relevant to your gameplay. Here is the usual infographic style summary. Stats on the right are at Diamond 3. Thanks again to Tawin for comparing Shiron to other characters. As we mentioned earlier, Shiron has fairly unimpressive base damage stats, relying heavily on damage buffs to take his damage to respectable levels. That leads us to analyze where Shiron might be good. For Horde mode, Shiron doesn't quite have the kit to do well. He is a ranged damage dealer that focuses on single target damage, so his kit just isn't set up at all for this mode. I've given him a 1.5 here. For War, Shiron potentially does a lot of damage through his active ability. He is a reasonably strong ranged damage dealer, and the big appeal is his range 3, which very few characters have. I've given him a 3. We spent a long bit on this video talking about guild raids, and have demonstrated that Shiron has the kit to do well as part of a ranged multi-hit team, but if we're being honest, that team just doesn't really exist with the current characters. Maybe we'll get more from the rest of the faction, but at the moment I'm giving him a 2 here. Overall, Shiron is niche and probably best against raid bosses, but difficult to assess without the rest of the faction. I think that for the vast majority of the player base, you are better placed to watch and wait rather than dumping all of your resources straight away. That's it, another character showcase wrapped up. A huge thanks to my Patreons for their support, and bye for now.